Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Boston Tea Party Podcast on the All Day Football Show. I'm your host, Jackson Kellogg, and we're on episode 7 of the Boston Tea Party Podcast, a place where we talk about all things Patriots. And this week, we'll be getting into my predictions and analysis for Week 4 against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to be a great game, and as always, transactions that have happened from the last week. So, Week 4 against the Chiefs. Patriots right now 2-0. Chiefs are 2-1, and the Chiefs are 3-1 after just beating the Baltimore Ravens on Monday Night Football by a pretty significant amount. And the Patriots had a little bit of a sloppy but still controlling and dominant win against the Raiders on Sunday afternoon. So, good matchup. It's going to be in Kansas City. Mahomes is definitely going to be an issue to slow down. You got the best quarterback in the league. He's got some of the best talents around him. You know, the Patriots game. So if you look back at the Patriots game plan against the Raiders, they saw Henry Ruggs was out of the game, so they didn't have to worry about a down the field threat, like a speedy kind of threat. So what they did was they took out Darren Waller, and then they were able to hold the run to a sustainable amount. So if they were to go with that approach for this game, if the Patriots were to try to do that thing where they eliminate one target for the Chiefs, I honestly don't know what they should try and do against this Chiefs offense, because so in previous years you'd have Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, and if you could shut those two down, you were pretty set. Nowadays, Sammy Watkins is still dominant for them. Mecole Hardman is developing into a good, talented receiver. And they just drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's been a top 10 running back this season. So that's going to be a very difficult offense, probably more difficult than it's ever been to try and hold. So if I'm the Patriots, I'm looking at what scheme can you go into where you can match up well against these defensive players, or against all these offensive weapons, and still be able to contain go with the big playability of the Chiefs. So if you go matchup by matchup, what the Patriots did against Darren Waller was perfect. They'd throw double coverages on him, or at some points, I think the best thing that they did was just throwing Jawan Williams on him one-on-one. That worked perfect. Jawan Williams has the size to take on tight ends. It was a great matchup, and I think they should do the same thing this week, where you got to have at least 4 on the defensive line at all times. If you bring 4, it's enough pressure to where one guy gets double-teamed, and if you go contain where you try and get 2 guys, instead of going straight down the middle, you come in at an angle or like an arc. If you can keep Mahomes in that pocket, you can either buy time for them to eventually get to him, or eventually he'll just have to throw, and you got to go with a top secondary in the Patriots that it's been shaky the last couple of weeks, but it's still dominant just early in the season. So I think you throw Jawan Williams on Travis Kelce. You have to double team Tyreek Hill. So you throw I think you put J.C. Jackson with McCourty over the top, because I don't understand why Jason McCourty is still starting. He's obviously lost a step in his game. He's slower, hasn't been as great in coverage. There's a lot of coverages that he's blown so far. So I think it's time to put J.C. Jackson as the starter. You throw Jonathan Jones in the slot to take out whoever's in there. Put Gilmore on Watkins. And then you could go, you don't even have to put McCourty. You could put McCourty as a deep high safety just to watch the middle of the field in general. And maybe you could play like Phillips on Tyreek Hill as well. Adrian Phillips. Rotate Kyle Duggar in there on Travis Kelce with Jawan Williams. You get Bentley in the center as a run stuffer. If anything, Phillips should, if you want to play spy, Phillips should be the spy and not Bentley, because we saw in week 2 what happened when they tried to play Jawan Bentley as a spy. Jawan Bentley isn't a pass coverage inside linebacker. He's a run stopping inside linebacker. So He's there to watch those gaps, run and stuff them. So he's been slow with running backs coming along the edge, which is a little not too good to see, especially with the Chiefs having Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He can run inside or outside. So it's definitely going to be tough matchups for the Patriots. But I think anything zone coverage, they got to get away from, because Mahomes will just pick them apart. They just have to hope the Patriots secondary can win their battles. Now, if you go to the offensive side for the Patriots, I think the game plan should be just manage the clock. Use what you can do best. The Chiefs secondary hasn't been terrible this year. They've been pretty dominant. L'Jarius Sneed, their rookie corner, has been, I think, their best corner so far this year. He's recorded 2 or 3 interceptions in 3 games. Good for him. They still have Tyrann Mathieu back there, Honey Badger. So it's a good defense. Their weakest area is definitely the middle of the field and the linebacking core. So if they can find ways to attack that middle of the field, like digs and inside routes to Edelman, and then you throw Harry and Bird open. If you go quick crossing routes, digs, ins, you're gonna have a good You're gonna have good play in the middle of the field. I think the best bet for the Patriots in the passing game is to stay away from the outsides. Now, I don't think they should lean too much on the passing game. If they can get Michel and the other running backs going, this is going to be a very quick game, because the Patriots are just going to pound the clock. And if Michel can have another 100-yard game, granted, hopefully it's not only 9 carries, and I kind of want them to be able to run the clock on this Chiefs offense. So if they could get Michel going and Cam Newton still going the option plays, RPOs, that'd be perfect as well. It'd be great clock management, and it's worked the last couple weeks against the teams that they've faced. So overall, I'm going to go with the Patriots losing 37-31. It'll be close. I'm hoping it's not a dominant Chiefs win like they had against the Ravens. I do think the Patriots secondary forces 2 turnovers on Mahomes and the Chiefs offense, but it won't be enough, as I don't think the Patriots are going to be able to be as slow in clock management on offense as they want to be. But I'll say Michel still gets another 100-yard game. So Patriots will probably start 2-2. If they win this game, that'll be a very interesting to see, because that means that they just beat the best team in the AFC, hands down. Chiefs, there's no one to compete with the Chiefs as number 1. And so that means their one loss would be to probably a top 2 team in the NFC in Seattle. If the Patriots beat the Chiefs here, I think that solidifies the Patriots as a top contender for that Super Bowl. Do I think they're a Super Bowl contender yet? No, I think they have to beat a top 5 team. So whether in the teams they play this year that I would consider a top team, you got Chiefs, Ravens. They didn't beat the Seahawks, and if the Niners were healthy, I'd say them. Maybe throw the Rams, Cardinals, Texans, I'd say, if they played better against their last 3 opponents. But if the Patriots lose this game, it's not the end of the world. Buffalo is looking pretty good, which is a little concerning. It means that the Patriots aren't going to be able to lose a couple games here and there to still take the division. Based off of how the rest of the AFC is playing, though, even if the Patriots lose out on the division title to the Bills, it looks like they could still get a wild card pretty dominantly. But I don't think the Patriots will win this game. It'll be close, but I'd be pretty surprised if they won. So, after all that, getting into weekly transactions here, David Andrews and Josh Uche were both put on IR. David Andrews broke his thumb. They had to wrap it up, and he had a little surgery on it, so he's going to be on IR for at least another 2 weeks, as he was put on IR before the game last week against the Raiders. Same thing with Uche. Uche's been dealing with lower body injuries in his legs and his feet, his ankles, so he was thrown on IR. It doesn't sound like Bill Belichick didn't really have a game plan for him yet, as he's been dealing with injuries since training camp. So that's a little disheartening to see, seeing that the Patriots definitely, of the positions that they need help at, linebacker is one of them. So hopefully they could get Uche healthy and into the game plan. One player was signed to the 53-man roster. That would be James Ferentz. He's been on the Patriots franchise before, rotated between starting lineup, or not the start 53-man roster, practice squad. He wasn't on the team during training camp, but they brought him back after the injury to David Andrews. Actually, the Patriots have been with that makeshift offensive line that they had against the Raiders. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. Like, it was a pretty decent offensive line. What happened was, so David Andrews got put on IR. So what they did was they slid Joe Thuney to center from left guard. They left Jermaine Illuminor, at right tackle, and put Michael Onu, the rookie that they drafted this year, at left guard, and he played great in that game. So that's good to see. Decent play by the offensive line. Definitely could be better, but considering the situation that they're in, it's definitely a good sign to see that they played well. And cornerback Michael Jackson Sr. was signed to the practice squad. He was traded from the Lions to the Patriots during the offseason for like a 7th-round pick. But the Patriots cut him after training camp, and he didn't make the initial practice squad, but after a couple weeks, they signed him back as he was not on a team. I think Miles Bryant is still on the starting roster, though, so it'll be... he's way at the bottom on he's super low depth, like emergency if there's an injury or some sort of issue for the Patriots. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, leave a like. Hope you guys enjoyed episode 7. Can't believe it's been that long already. Hope to keep doing this. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you all have a great day. Let's go Patriots on Sunday.